My eyes are a little puffy right now because prior to recording this, I was crying for hours on end, thinking about how much easier my life would be if I could sacrifice nothing to gain everything. Today we're talking about something that I've wanted to talk about for a really long time, but after Jujutsu Kaisen 259 came out, I felt like, you know what, this is the perfect time to talk about Binding Vow Kaisen, and Gege Akutami, and Sukuna. So the title of today's presentation is I Too Would Give Up a Fingernail for $10 million. Manga spoilers are ahead. Let's get right into the presentation. We have a lot to cover. So what exactly is a binding vow? It is liquid bullshit of the nth fucking degree. And no, I'm actually not a binding vow hater at all. I actually quite like the execution, but at times it's a little bit dubious. And let me just say, in regards to this picture, these should not be fucking chains, dude. These chains are way too cold, metal, and hard to be constricting this person who looks like Itadori Yuji. The chains should be fucking pillows. Binding vows? I'll explain why. The liquid bullshit of the nth degree can basically be described as you when you're like 8 years old playing some imaginary game you played with your friends, and then when your friend is like, oh, now I shoot this Kamehameha at you, and you're like, no you don't. I have a shield that blocks Kamehameha specifically. And then your friend is like, but this Kamehameha breaks through any shield. You know what I'm saying? You're picking up what I'm putting down? Now they're also basically nen vows. Gege takes a lot of inspiration from Togashi, and that's great because Hunter x Hunter is absolutely peak. However, binding vows have something that nen vows do not have, and that's basically the ability to explain shonen tropes, abilities, and plot in a cool and interesting way. Conversely though, it does the exact fucking opposite of the thing above as well, and we're gonna get into this in the presentation, just bear with me, this is the introduction, okay? So Gojo's death, no. And it's worth mentioning, of course, that they can be made with yourself and others, and they gave us some absolutely incredible moments in JJK. I am a fan of binding vows from a theoretical standpoint. In fact, in Chain and Meguna appearing in the manga was probably one of the coolest moments I have had reading manga real time. So now let's dig a little deeper into binding vows and the chapter itself and talk about it. Binding vows, the good. Firstly, there is absolutely freedom of character expression. Wow! Especially when it comes to Nanami, for instance. These types of binding vows are super interesting and elevate characters to a new level. Half the fucking reason Nanami is so based is because of overtime. Yeah, work is fucking shit. That is how you write a character. His binding vow has to do with his personality. Really great. Now, like we mentioned in the other slide, the explanation of shonen tropes. Woohoo! That's really cool, especially revealing one's hand. There is no fucking reason in a shonen to tell a villain what the fuck you are about to do unless it makes you stronger. And this writing of binding vows is really cool because not only does it make you stronger, but it gives you the ability to lie. For instance, Todo can clap and not switch places with people. Cool moments, actual explanation, very well done. Now I've mentioned that Jujutsu Kaisen is actually just read between the lines Kaisen. Now being a lawyer is so cool, that's why Suits is such a popular show, nice! Higuruma would be so fucking cracked at writing binding vows, I don't know why his entire persona wasn't just writing fucking binding vows and finding loopholes. And of course, binding vows are interesting because they add an element of even higher stakes in a death/battle manga. Oh my, wow, how interesting. So yes, they're really cool, they explain a lot, they give us more intrigue, but we have to talk about the bad. First of all, people seem to not understand binding vows from my research on Reddit/online. Whenever I'm browsing Jujutsu Kaisen discussions, it's always like, dude, why didn't someone just make a binding vow to rip a hair off their head to get some immaculate power? You can't do that. The whole point of binding vows is to give up something actually big, something meaningful to you, to gain some sort of power. It's a double-edged sword. Now also, oh shit, binding vow merchant alert, holy, oh fuck, binding vow. That was really close. We both almost died there. The other issue is that Gege doesn't actually seem to understand how binding vows work, especially when it comes to fucking Sukuna, the binding vow merchant himself. You introduce binding vows as nen vows. You give up something great in order to get something of equal benefit, maybe even less benefit just for a short period of time. Sukuna does not do this. You will see. Because of this and the way they're written, plot holes are retroactively revealed. A lot of the times people will ask, why the fuck did this character not just do a binding vow? Why did this character do a binding vow? It's never really explained. Mekamaru, Gojo, Hikari, anyone who's used a binding vow, anyone who hasn't used a binding vow, we ask ourselves, what the fuck? So yes, I'm specifically talking about Gojo. Why did Gojo not use a binding vow even fucking once in his fight with Sukuna? I mean, okay, put a pin in this. And so because of all of this, the writing can be very finicky and inconsistent. We've seen binding vows that are written so fucking well, overtime, in Chain, stuff like that. And we've seen binding vows that Sukuna uses, for instance, for Furnace, that make no fucking sense with the consistency of the story. But that's fine, because binding vows are so cool, we want to keep seeing them. So what happens if you break a vow? Breaking a vow with yourself, remember you can make them with yourself and with others, removes anything that you gained from that vow. On the other hand, breaking a vow with someone else results in question marks? Question marks in Spanish? Question marks Reggie edition? Brate, so yes, there is no explanation as of now what happens when a binding vow is broken between two people. All we know is that something bad happens. However, what I will say is that there is potential here, and I want to see it. So let's talk about the binding vow merchant himself. First of all, you killed Choso. You fucking bastard. As much as I saw this coming, this is something that I can never forgive you for, Sukuna. And especially fucking you. Not even potential man. You are potential kid. Megumi, lock in, dude. Choso would not have died had you not been fucking dog shit. But there's a reason we call Sukuna the Binding Vow Merchant. It's because he trades nothing for something OP as shit. It stands to reason then that Sukuna will use 25% of all binding vows in the series. And no, I did not go back and count every binding vow to get that number, but feel free to use that number as law because I am a genius, and this is the closest thing to a peer-reviewed scientific article that you can find on YouTube. And here's the thing about Sukuna. In the most recent chapter, we learned that Furnace loses his AoE effect in order to only be able to use it in the domain. What we also learn in the same fucking chapter is that Furnace is slow and has no range. So basically, Sukuna gives up a little bit of AoE potential for fucking maximum destructive potential. It's like you have a car that goes really, really slowly and can drive anywhere. It can drive slowly on a swamp. It can drive slowly onto the road. And then you're like, you know what? Actually, it has infinite gas and infinite speed, but I can only drive it on the road. That seems like a fair trade-off. What I'm trying to say is that Furnace sounds like fucking ass unless you use it in the domain, so Sukuna's binding vow for having to use it in the domain unless it's ass makes no fucking sense. And then also the world slash, he loses the ability to have no hand signs and chanting. Now this also makes no sense from a writing perspective because Sukuna loses here something that we didn't even know he had. Yes, of course that's gonna be fucking weird. I'll leave it to you guys to discuss in the comments so I don't want to ramble too much about this and go on a tangent. But it would be great if Sukuna ended up breaking his binding vows just because of Yuji. He started losing and he says, you know what, fuck this, I'm breaking all the vows, let's see what happens. That would be really cool. I hope that happens, Gege, come on. The Binding Vow Merchant also, we've realized that he must have fucking shown Uraume the time of their life. Because Uraume starts looking like Gojo, Uraume continues glazing. Sukuna, I do not know if your two penises satisfied them to utter perfection, but goddamn, dude, I need someone like Uraume in my life. And then we also found out that Gojo was fucking lying, because there's no way, I cannot see a reason for Heian era Sukuna now to be able to beat Gojo. He was holding back, he wasn't holding back Furnace, he couldn't fucking use it. But this is not a power scaling video, let's not get into it, there's something more important to cover. Choso. My boy Choso. First of all, I called it. I'm sad. But as sad as I am about the death, it was actually satisfying. I think it was the most satisfying death since Nanami. He did what he wanted to do, and his death as a character was actually quite emotional. He saves Yuji. Yuji doesn't even have time to think about it, just like he didn't in Shibuya. Our binding vow with him is that with his death, we got Todo. Welcome back. I will say though, Gege is taking a lot of inspiration from Oda because these two characters are dodging interaction just like all the crew members are dodging interaction with one another. And as I said, as sad as it is, his redemption is complete. Realistically, he could not survive. He killed way too many people. He was too gray area of a character. Choso, you were great. 07, mad respect. And now, Todo, go get him. And before we hit the conclusion of this video, I just want to make a quick note. Jujutsu Kaisen leakers are the worst at their jobs. I cannot explain to you. There is a reason that I do not post the leaks on this channel and we don't talk about the leaks on this channel because as I was reading the fucking translated leaks of this chapter, I have contracted some sort of new brain virus that is uncurable. Dude, those translations made no fucking sense. And not only that, but the leaks were super late. They spoiled the Choso death before they even happened on screen. Whatever, dude. Thank God I'm not a leaker. Shitty. Alright, in conclusion, what can we say about Binding Vow Kaisen? Binding Vows are a good idea with, at times, questionable execution. I really like them. I like Nen Vows. I like Binding Vows. I think they make an interesting story. I think they raise the stakes. But the inconsistencies in writing are frustrating. Now, Sukuna's also got infinite shit to offer, because apparently everything is fucking important to him. Whatever he needs, he just fucking sacrifices a pube, bro. At the end of the series, yeah, he's gonna be clean-shaven down there, but it doesn't matter because he's have gotten fucking everything that he ever wanted. I'm stuttering again. On the other hand, the real strongest of all time, myself, Gojo for some reason forgot to use any binding vow. I mean, you've seen the impossible quiz, me take it. I'm an idiot. Clearly Gojo is too. If I was actually smart, I'd use a binding vow. But no. Narcissist, cocky, he would win mentality. Which when I think about it is exactly what I do, so perhaps Gege wrote this correctly. Anyway, show us what the fuck happens if you break a binding vow. I think that there's so much potential there, especially after this arc, for a really cool climax. And last but not least, give him respect where respect is due. Choso's end was sad, but it was just. I'll miss you, partner. If you subscribe, my binding vow to you is that you'll become 400 billion times percent sexier. Sexier than I, even. So if you did enjoy this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Jujutsu Kaisen readers, non-Jujutsu Kaisen readers, what do you think about binding vows? What do you think about them in comparisons to nen vows? What do you think about the way Gege writes them and the way Sukuna uses them and the kind of plot holes and consistencies? What about my takes? Am I wrong? I'm not even mad about it. I'm still loving JJK. I think we can just have this discussion. I think it's funny that every fucking chapter when something's explained that we didn't know in the past, it's because of a binding vow. It's just a little, what the fuck? Regardless though, let me know what you thought about the video. Leave any suggestions for future videos in the comments below. It can be about literally fucking anything. I'll do anything for you. Until next time, you're looking beautiful. I love you. Goodbye.